So let me start off by saying Happy Memorial Day and remembrance of our fallen soldiers, those that have served for our country, lost their lives, and should be, they are the real heroes and should not be ever forgotten, no matter what the politics of the day may be. But anyhow, make me make sense of this part 25 in accordance with Memorial Day. An annual physical is just that, yearly. So DJT is on his third. People, Trump to visit Walter Reed for the third checkup for the second term. Yeah, that's not an annual visit. We need to get real. Trump will be the oldest president that has ever been in office, followed by Biden, and we don't seem to have a problem with realizing that we are taking a risk with this country, outside of many other things, for physical health and mental health, on individuals that have aged out. We have congressional leaders. Let me show you the oldest congressional leaders that are in office right now. Senator Grassley, believe it or not, is the oldest, 92 years of age. Hal Rogers of Kentucky, Delegate Eleanor Holmes Norton, at the oldest in the House of Representatives, 87. It's marked one of the oldest Congresses in U.S. history, with an average age approximately in the mid-80s, for the remaining silent generation. That's right, people. And there they are: Grassley, McConnell, Sanders, Riss, Angus King. Look at this: 92, 83, 83, 82, 81. Hal Rogers, 87. Eleanor Holmes Norton, 87. Maxine Waters, 86. Steny Hoyer, 85. And Nancy Pelosi, 84. Now, the Supreme Court has no mandatory retirement age. Just to give you an idea of their age, the age span between the Supreme Court justices. And they are Amy Comey, she's 54. Kendra Brown Jackson, 55. Neil Gorsuch, 58. Elena Kagan, 66. Brett Kavanaugh, 61. And then we start to slide. Chief Justice John Roberts, time to retire, 71. Sonia Sotomayor, 71. Samuel Alito, 76. And Clarence Thomas, 77. And just see the slide here. I don't care what your political preferences are. It has turned out to be nothing but a parking lot of elderly people with Depends, and you can see in some pictures, questionably, that they're wearing Depends. Even the person that sits in the highest office. Baby food and walkers. And let me tell you something. Don't tell me about your loyalty or your allegiance, because it is disgusting. It is absolutely disgusting. And as they age, which they are a liability, all of them, all the names I mentioned, it isn't fair to our military, isn't fair to today's Memorial Day, to our vets. It isn't fair to the people of this country that rely on them to be in good health and sound mind. You complained about the prior president. I'm with you. I didn't think he should have ran, and I don't think he should have even attempted to want to have a second term. But this is ridiculous. This is absolutely ridiculous. Because we can't handle change. Whether you like it or not, we cannot handle change. Now, this deal with segueing off of this, because you know what? If Trump were to leave for medical reasons, you would forget him. No, Chittival, yeah, you would. You loyalists, all of you who think that you would not get over him, you would. As soon as Vance stepped in, yes, you'd have pictures hanging up and, have stories, talking over the, if you're having a little picnic or, having a little campfire. But you get over him. You get over him because if I mention prior presidents and they're dead, like Ronald Reagan, there's Obama, there's Clinton, you could just get over all of them. Biden, they all do. You would. You would, eventually step into the new and say, okay, the president now is J.D. Vance. And whether he runs and gets elected, I don't know. Probably highly unlikely based on what I can see. I don't think he has, I could be wrong, the fortitude. But anyhow, you get over people. But instead, you hang on to memories, like the corners of your mind, because you think Misty, want to come in memories. Is what you have left. That's all you have left. Here's the thing. These people were brought up when there was no computers. I mean, they're dealing with AI and data centers, which We need government oversight. They were brought up with analog phones and black and white TV, and key punch hole and microfiche. We can just go on and on. And so maybe even some of them horse and buggy. I don't have time for your bullshit because I know there should be age limits. I know there should be age limits. I don't give a crap if we invent some sort of medication that make people live to 200. That is when, we change up the rules. Now, some people want to say, well, people are viable, Chitterville, until they're 100 years of age. Well, as long as they're not in positions of power where they're, managing over 340 million people, I don't give a shit what you do. But in a case where you have the most important position in this country, the highest position, no. It's just so black and white. I worry about black and white, about the illegals versus the non-people that shouldn't be here, versus this. This is like there's just the sand. You can't, there's no gray area. There's not like a little swipe over. It's no. And I personally believe 70 is the cutoff. And I'm giving them till 70. Now, people even younger can get sick. Yeah, age doesn't mean that you can't get can't get ill, but at least our chances are better. The odds are against us right now. In this deal with Iran, what do you mean that you're gonna talk about giving up uranium and Russia's willing to take some? Well, this is not a deal until it's signed on the dotted line. See, this is just all panic-stricken, in my opinion, because we're heading close to the midterms. What are you talking about? Rubio, how many jobs do you have? I just heard you got another job, by the way. Iran agrees to give up uranium stockpile, potential U.S. deal, and everything. Remember, words matter. This is not an actual U.S. deal. It's a potential. It's close to reaching a deal with Iran that would end the war, the Strait of Hormuz, and this didn't even need to happen. They could have negotiated this prior to this. And let me be quite honest with you. The regime is thick. There's layers to the Iranian regime. Layers. But I digress. Let's go further on this deal. Trump said yours were proceeding in an orderly, constructive manner. Okay. He pushed back against some fellow Republicans seeking a tougher approach. The agreement would not be signed Sunday, and it didn't. And it hasn't been signed today, as far as I know. We'll see what happens today or tomorrow. Of negotiation was spoken condition of anonymity because they were authorized to comment publicly. The sides have previously seemed closer to a deal in recent weeks, only to falter. So there's been a push taking place. I know Lindsey Graham would like to just continue the battle because he doesn't think that this deal is, amongst others, fair and equitable. Okay, so here's the thing. Iran is not publicly committed to giving up its uranium, a key Trump demand. President Assad has told state TV they were not ready to assure the world that we are not after a nuclear weapon, which is a contradiction about what's being said. So the Secretary Rubio is on a visit to India. Rubio told India today that the first stage would be the full reopening of the strait. The second is that Iran needs to enter into the serious negotiation with three topics: their pledge to never have nuclear weapons, restrictions long-term on their enrichment capabilities, and what do they do with the highly enriched uranium, which is the big deal. Of course, Netanyahu had to also signal in. Israel officials are concerned that Hezbollah remains a serious threat to Israel and that Lebanon is ill-equipped to disarm it. So a fragile U.S. brokered ceasefire took effect on April 17, but fighting has continued mainly in the. And again, Iran says no deal imminent despite progress in talks with the U.S. And it comes down to the fact that are we manipulating the market here to keep gas prices installed? Is this going to continue on all the way to the elections in November? So here's the part that concerns me. U.S.-Iran deal includes terms of Iran to give up stockpile of highly enriched uranium. Okay. Regarding the disposal of the material, officials indicated that some uranium would be likely diluted. The remainder would be transferred to a third country, and Russia has offered to take it. Why doesn't that sound like a pretty an idea that shouldn't be followed through with? And how is the war in Ukraine and Russia going? I thought that was over. Remember? It was going to be over. Peace deal the first few months, the first day that was supposed to be. What's going on with Ukraine and Russia? Ukraine and intermediate range strike campaign, a new mechanized attacks herald the start of a new phase of the war. Yeah, it's time for Congress for you to come back from your break. Yeah, it's time. That's all.